Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a 350-year-old debate that happened on a boat during a naval battle. Yeah, you heard that right. It might sound ancient, but it secretly wrote the rules for the movies and TV shows you love today. This is all about John Dryden's An Essay of Dramatic Poesy.
Okay, so let's picture the scene, because it's incredible. Dryden's essay isn't some stuffy academic paper. Nope, it's a lively, flowing conversation between four bodies on a boat, and all this is happening against the very real, very loud backdrop of a naval battle between the English and the Dutch on the River Thames. So you've got cannons roaring, and these guys are just arguing about what makes a good play. Talk about dramatic.
So first up, we'll get into the setting for this whole thing, a friendly argument on a boat.
And next, we absolutely have to meet the four critics at the heart of this debate. Each one has a totally different take on things.
So, let's meet the contenders in this intellectual brawl. First, we have Kreitz. He's the traditionalist, arguing that the ancient Greek and Roman writers got it perfect. Then there's Eugenius, who's all about championing the modern English playwrights of his day. Lycidius, he's looking across the channel, saying, no, the French have it right with their orderly, rule-bound drama. And finally, you've got Neander. Now, Neander is basically Dryden's own voice, and he's here to defend the unique, kind of wild spirit of English theater.
All right, the first big showdown in this debate is a classic one. Old rules versus new spirit. You know, tradition versus innovation.
And here is that first clash in a nutshell. On one side, you've got Charmides saying, look, the ancients perfected drama. They gave us the rules, the structure, the forms. That's the gold standard. But on the other side, Eugenius is pushing back hard. He's arguing that, hey, the classics are great and all, but the modern writers have this fresh energy, this originality, and you can't just stifle that with a bunch of old, rigid rules.
So the debate shifts gears a little bit, moving from a battle of time to a battle of place. The super orderly French style versus the more chaotic realism of the English stage.
Now, before we get into their arguments, you gotta understand this key concept that Lycidius, the France supporter, is all about, the dramatic unities. This was a set of rules they got from the classics, and the whole point was to make a play feel tidy and believable. So, one plot, one location, and the whole thing happens in one day. The French absolutely love this idea. And this right here just lays out the core conflict perfectly. Lycidius argues that sticking to the unities makes for a more refined, a more perfect work of art. But Neander, who remember is Dryden's voice, comes back defending the glorious messiness of English drama, especially someone like Shakespeare. His point is that life isn't neat. It's a mix of sad stuff and funny stuff, and a play that shows that is ultimately way more powerful and true to life.
Okay, so after all this back and forth, who wins? Is it the ancients, the moderns, the French, the English? Well, Dryden's answer isn't some simple knockout punch. It's actually way more interesting and, frankly, more useful than that.
Right. So Dryden, speaking through his character Neander, basically refuses to pick a single winner. He argues against this idea of creative purity. He thinks the real path to making great art isn't about choosing just one style, but about combining the best parts of all of them.
And this brings us to Dryden's ultimate recipe for great art. He's basically telling artists to be smart thieves and brilliant chefs. You take the discipline from the ancients, you learn about structure from the French, but you fuel it all with that modern, lively, and uniquely English spirit of realism. It's not about replacing one thing with another. It's about blending it all together. So this all happened on a boat over 350 years ago. Why are we still talking about it? Why does this essay still matter? What is its lasting legacy? The essay's legacy is just huge. It fundamentally changed the whole conversation. It gave English writers this newfound confidence in their own style, while also giving them permission to break the rules, to be flexible, and to borrow from literally anywhere to create art that felt new and, alive. Which leaves us with a final thought, right? Think about it. When you watch a movie that perfectly mashes up comedy with intense drama, or you listen to music that fuses genres from all over the world, aren't we just seeing Dryden's conclusion in action? Maybe his 17th century playbook to mix, match, and innovate is actually more relevant today than ever before.